Mahalo.
Welcome everyone out there to our second TalkStory Roundtable discussion with the TalkStory crew here. Everyone minus our main man Jock. For some reason, we always missing one member. So just go ahead and introduce yourselves. So let's you start.
I am Anthony.
And what do you do at TalkStory?
I'm the audio engineer. My name is James Anthony McCoy. I'm 24 years old. I am half Spaniard, half Italian, and I have dreadlocks.
Thanks, Anthony.
What are your measurements?
I'm 5'6", 134 pounds. I did this morning. I might have changed. I'll keep you up to date on that.
Good.
Yeah.
Emilio?
Well, Emilio is my name. I do the photos. Can we start over, dude?
No.
No, dude. I'm like...
We are doing this.
I'm completely... Okay.
This is how we do it.
Okay.
This gives the people like the free flow of time.
Okay. Well, yeah. I'm Emilio. I do the art and then the web design for the TalkStory crew.
And then Alex is behind working cameras. Our new team member, Montanique Monroe.
She's right there.
Hey, Montanique, how you doing? Montanique is our guest photographer and videographer, as our other TalkStory member, Jacques, out in New York City making some amazing art, doing some theater, maybe some TV, what he does. So we'll intersperse some of Jacques' thoughts throughout this conversation. Unfortunately, we had some technical stuff and we weren't able to have him join us via video stream. But hope everyone out there enjoys our conversation on transformation. So for those of you who've watched our other episodes from Transformation, we had 2 amazing podcast episodes, as well as a TalkStory experience video where we experienced transformation in a new way. I was thinking we start with what are like the new things you guys learned about, thought about after listening to those episodes and watching TalkStory experience, about what do you think transformation is now compared to it was before this month had started?
Who was the...
Go ahead.
I remember Mel's episode, but what was the episode before that?
China.
Oh, yeah.
About that was on the idea of using dance as a way to transform, as well as her own transformation from just from a dancer to also an activist as well. So
Yeah, I have some thoughts. Listening to China share everything she had to share, and listening to Mel with his transformation. One thing that really stuck out to me is that transformation takes time, and it's okay to take time doing that. It's not an overnight thing. And hearing how many years it took for China from being in high school, having that one story. One of the quotes that stood out to me is "Oh, you are pretty for a black girl," something like that. From high school to that, making that be the catalyst, being the spark to want her to start to become an activist, and now seeing her years down the line still working at that and getting really popular and actually getting some traction with that in a really great way. And then seeing Mel now in his early 40s, I believe, right? Late 30s, making this happen. I think all of it just reinforces the idea is that transformation takes time, and it's that being okay with the path that your transformation is currently on. Not being frustrated with the circumstances, not wanting this to happen right now, tomorrow, but still working on it every day and understanding this will be a longer marathon and not a sprint. That's what stood out to me in a more powerful way through these stories. Yeah. What about you guys? Can you say?
Well, listening to Mel's story, it gave that whole experience a lot more personality, because it's something that I've never experienced. I don't know anything about, and to go from hearing her stories, talking about when she was a kid, and then her grandpa said that they should put all these people on an island and nuke the island, and hearing Mel talk about that, and being in Mel's situation at that time, and hearing your grandpa say that would have been like earth shattering for me. Can you imagine if your grandpa was basically said that we should kill you? That's in simple terms, that's basically what he said. Mm-hmm. That was that blew my mind. I was I literally gasped. I was
Yeah, I think that's the big thing about Mel's episode for me, as well as we all cisgendered.
Yeah.
We never really can experience that, I think there is something to be said about the universal experience of trying to find oneself and having to deal with obstacles to that. But we, as we are privileged in the sense that to never have to go through those types of obstacles, right? And to be put in situations where you really are questioning the root of who you are. To your point about the whole idea of the time it takes for training, I think there's something to be said about the idea that sometimes we really want to like change quickly, right? And we get frustrated with ourselves for not growing the way we want to and getting to that place we want to, right? So I look at when I was like a few years ago, being out of college after a couple of years and being like, I really haven't worked on the stuff I wanted to, or I keep getting frustrated because I know this, I gotta get better at this or get better at that, but then still not actually still stumbling on the way, and that's okay. I think especially when you know that this is something you want to work on, a lot of times, at least doing it for myself, it's so frustrating when you still trying to figure this out, still trying to work on these things that you're trying to grow and become more you, right? And I think, as you said, no, it's okay. It's okay to take that time. And it's okay to feel frustrated too, because that's just part of being human.
If anything, I get more impatient. You know, I mean, I guess I get impatient, and that kind of like leads to frustration, and just like growing as a person. Like, because for me, it's always like, if I'm not seeing short-sighted, if I'm not seeing goals and like achievements and accomplishments, it's really easy to get sort of bogged down in just the work of like growing or changing. Like right now I've been focusing a lot on like my budget and like trying to adjust that. But it's a thing that takes a lot of time. And for me, it's like I've got a plan, and there's a plan, and I want to see the results instantly. And I don't know, I get sort of impatient and frustrated in that way.
Yeah. I think that's like Alex said, that's part of being human.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not easy to, and I know we all have role models, we all have idols that are like right now at the epitome of what it means to be successful in that field. And I know for myself personally, like I will look at these idols and think, man, like I want to be there like now. Like I want to be in that spot right now. But it doesn't work that way. You have to take your time and develop your own path. And so, that was a big takeaway for me from all of this. It was an idea, like that idea that transformation takes time, and transformation means different things for everybody. But your own unique transformation for who you are, that takes time, and not just reinforced. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, that was one point. Were there other points that stuck out to you guys throughout this chapter?
I was really sort of blown away by the fact that like Mel was able to recall all these like specific details and emotions, and like the way you guys presented that episode with like just Mel telling his story was like perfect, because he was a great storyteller, but like to go from like remembering stuff from your childhood and like have this constant narrative and be able to tell that and share that, like that blew me away. Like I can't remember, I mean, I guess if I think back like when I was a kid and like learning how to play drums and like where I'm at now, like playing drums, I might be able to find a narrative there, but like, I mean, I guess playing drums is nowhere near as impactful in my life as like going through life thinking that you're somebody else and everybody's telling you that you're somebody else, you know?
Yeah, I think that, I mean, it's really interesting. I mean,
that probably could be why that Mel was able to remember those details, because it was such a like formative thing for him.
Yeah. I mean, and the interesting part, we're talking, even, this is the thing, right? We're using he and she. And if you use he and she interchangeably for Mel, I always like to use, because even Mel doesn't know if he really fits, right? Or Mel knows if the word he fits for Mel, right? And that whole idea of the fact that, gender, look at it, gender is really something that we, from a young age, you're confronted with, right? You were born, they kind of changed now, but I think most people still, boy blue, girl pink. And then so to be someone who doesn't really feel necessarily part of the gender society, but also maybe not completely part, because Mel had lived so much time within the gender norms of being a female, doesn't necessarily right now, at least in terms of where Mel's at on Mel's journey to be considered male too. It just shows how something like that we don't think about, because because we feel comfortable in who our gender is, how hard that really is. Like those simple things, right? I mean, for me, what really stood out to me about Mel's particular story was the whole idea of like the bathroom, something so mundane as using a restroom, taking your child to the restroom, feeling like I have to actually think about it, do some mental jujitsu about like, can I go into the ladies' restroom with my daughter, or should I try to go to the male's restroom? I have a little scruff, but I'm kind of small. I'm not necessarily. It's really hard. Like some people may think Mel is just a short man or somehow a hairy woman. And this having this mental jujitsu to try to figure out how to take your daughter to the restroom when your daughter has to go, right? I think that really stood out to me because it's sometimes the things that we take for granted, someone else doesn't in some capacity, right? And that's the benefit of hearing someone's story. Is it allows us to at least get a glimpse, as faint as that may be, into the life experience of someone else.
Yeah.
So I think, but in regards to particularly transformation, I think we've seen from going also to bringing the experience in with the whole float, which is only an hour, right? How even something like that can still have some impact, and transformation doesn't have to be so grand.
Did you feel transformed after the float?
I felt, I think in small ways, right? I think that's the thing. Transformation doesn't have to be a huge monumental occasion. I think we think of it in such grand terms in our society, but I think transformation can be just, all right, today I'm going to be.
You think of it as a process?
I think transformation is a process, first of all, yeah.
Yeah.
And transformation is a process, but also it's about those incremental steps, right? So like, all right, I want to be like, for example, right now I'm trying to get better at keeping my task list in order, right? So maybe one thing.
That's an interesting thing to focus on.
It's interesting because I'm one of these people that I promise a lot.
Yeah.
And especially at work, and really be able to like be honest and like, I can't do this because I have all this other stuff. And part of it is sometimes I promise stuff and I don't add it to my task list or something like that. So for me, it's like I'm trying to I used to do this before. Was like before I go to bed, I just write down, like I go into like my list of stuff, my list of to-dos, and just pick out the ones I need to do tomorrow and right before I go to sleep. Because science has shown that if you write down your to-dos or doing a list of anything, and before you go to sleep, it goes from your working memory to your not your subconscious memory, but the other spot of memory, which is a little more full, because working memory only have like 4 slots. So if you try to write stuff in the beginning of the day, still it's taking up those slots, and so you can't. So a lot of times you think about what I have to instead of like just going with the flow and like, I already know what I have to do. So like doing stuff like that. And those might seem like the tiniest little thing, but can have the most impact on my transformation as a better and more efficient person at work or something like that.
I wouldn't think to focus on that for a transformation. I mean, it's an interesting thing to think about, like, because there's always stuff that I have to like prioritize and try to get done, but I don't ever really think of like. Because I'm pretty familiar with what you're talking about with like the note taking and like sort of putting it in sort of like that instead of those 4 working spots to be able to think about it, and it's sort of like cultivating and incubating, and it's always present. I was actually just listening to a podcast about that. But in regards to the float, what did you think seeing our experience with that?
I wanted to do it, and I know I was out of town, I wasn't able to do it, but it's something I would like to. I get a massage every month. I think it's just like if I don't do it, it makes everything much more difficult for that month. I'd like to replace a massage with one of those and see what that does for me.
But don't replace, in addition to.
There's actually there's a couple places that are massage, like you go regular massage and also do a float.
I got plan a day like that. I get a massage and then go float right afterwards.
I got a massage last week, and I'm floating again next week.
Oh really? So it was that impactful for you? You want to keep doing it?
I want to do it for longer too. We did it for only an hour.
But what's the longest session they allow?
I don't know, dude. But I saw this video. This guy did it for 8 hours.
I think theirs is like maybe 2 hours. I think it's like 90
But
minutes.
8 hours?
Okay, so I watched the experience video. If you guys haven't, you should. In your own words, like how is it beneficial for you? Like what benefits you see like that next day or that evening after that?
Clearing my thoughts from reflection.
Yeah.
I mean, it was in a point of where like there was no new input, and the only thing that existed were my thoughts.
So a very present moment, very grounding.
Yeah. Occasionally I'd like bump into the wall, and then I'd be like, oh, I'm in this room. And then like salt water would get in my eye, and I'd be like, oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And then one thing, it was a little steamy in there. Because it's like the water's the temperature of your body, so the room feels sort of like the incubation chamber, the ambient air, whatever you want to call it, sort of felt a little like clammy, more like steam, like stuffy almost. So I was aware of that. So she had this spray bottle in there that we would like spray if you got stuff in your eyes or if you just wanted to have like fresh water. And I would do that, and it would kind of negate the tropical feel of that. But other than that, it was just like really being present with my thoughts. It was really, really like a great time to like be sort of introspective.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah. I remember many years ago, you tried to build a sensory deprivation. This is like back in high school. I'm on Emilio since second grade.
Yeah. I did it, dude.
Yeah.
I did it. This was a lot better.
that was my point.
Yeah.
Because I think you had like blankets and stuff you wrapped around you, and like you were like in your dark bedroom on the floor.
Well, I was in my bed, and I was listening to white noise, and I just had my eyes closed, and I like didn't move. So the whole thing with that is just staying awake, basically. Because if you fall asleep, you're just sleeping. But I just stayed awake, and like there's no new input, so you're just like there. And it was sort of like that. But that brings up a lot of other weird stuff I did in high school. Me and my friend Caesar, we wanted to see what it felt like to be waterboarded. So we like waterboarded each other.
I remember hearing about
this. That was crazy. It's like, so there's no danger. Because like you put something like over your face, like a towel, and just like pour water on you. So there's no danger, but the feeling of drowning is like so instant. Like it's literally like you feel like as soon as the water touches your face, you're like, I'm dying. And you just like have to stop. It was crazy.
So not to get too tangential on this, why did you want to know how it feels like to be waterboarded?
Why not? I mean, if you can do it where there's no risk.
There's no physical risk.
What's the risk?
Psychological
damage. How is it psychological damage?
It's used as a torture
that's the whole point.
But it was in an environment where I knew I was safe, so I knew I wasn't being tortured.
Okay, it was okay.
Sounds like a walk in the park.
It's completely different if you know that it's against your will, and then there's no escape. It wasn't against my will, and I could escape anytime I wanted.
So next TalkStory experience.
Waterboarding?
No, hell no.
You've never tried it?
This isn't like a video.
Well, okay, so
you're just not curious about the experience?
No, because the people who get waterboarded are people that, kind of are like me, and I'm not going to deal with that. No.
What does that mean?
I'm part Middle Eastern, part Arab. So, like, the fact that, and it's like, and generally people who we do it to are terrorists, which generally are people who are Arab looking, which is not even entirely true.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
We're not going to go to Guantanamo
and
but to bring it back here.
Bring it back
I mean, wouldn't that be a reason you would try it? Because you're a lot of people from your culture, you're saying have experienced it.
Yeah. I mean,
you'd be more in touch with your culture.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you just said. You said You said I wouldn't try it because people like me have experienced it before.
That's not part. Okay. I'm gonna. It's not going down the rabbit hole of torture and terrorism right now. But we could definitely talk about that later.
That's definitely part of transformation.
It is a transformative act. Transformative.
I guess I'm the weird one out.
Sorry, man.
One thing that get it back on transformation. What's helped me a lot to really just be okay with the progress I've made. I actually feel a bit accomplished, and like in all transformation, in any aspect. Like for me, it's like working production. And like I do projection mapping and visuals and stuff like that. I started doing that late last fall. For me, I think it's healthy to look back at that time. Like look back 6 months on something you're working on, whether it's like organization in your day or whatever you do in your spare time, whenever you do waterboarding. And so like look back 6 months, look back 9 months, look back a year, and just see like where was I? And like, that's always, I like doing that as just like a pick me up, and as like a way to kind of refocus myself and think, no, I am making progress. Look at how far I've come in this time. And so I think it's important to reward yourself in that way and celebrate those small victories when you look back on that, because it is easy to get frustrated and to get in the same rut, in the same routine, to where like I'm not making any progress on this. You don't feel like you are, but until you zoom out and look at that timeline, you then see the progress you've made. So just the thought.
Yeah.
What do you say then, talking about your visual design and like be able to do that, what are like 3 milestones looking back over the past year that you would like, oh, wow, that in terms of growth milestones in that?
I'm not sure. What's that?
I was gonna say, well, you're not doing frat parties anymore, so that's probably a milestone.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I never minded doing those. It was just a different type of work environment. But just not having anxiety walking into a venue. Because it was such a new thing, it was such a foreign thing to me. I'd walk in and like have anxiety because I felt insecure, like I don't know how to do this, I don't know how to do this. But now just approaching it with a place of confidence, which I think is much more powerful. Just to come in, if you're cool, like cool and collected, and you come in with a very focused and clear mind, it's much easier to approach situations to where you have to do heavy problem solving and critical thinking. And so as being really like confident and calm walking into a venue, that's been probably the biggest one. Because before getting that anxiety and getting worried that you're going to do something wrong, or someone's going to say something to you, or someone's going to question your abilities, that doesn't do anything but just kind of pull you back. You're basically just tying weights to your feet and trying to run a marathon. It's not you're pulling yourself back. So I think that's the biggest one. If that makes sense.
Taking away that anxiety is like giving you the opportunity to focus on the task at hand.
Yeah.
And be more creative. Like that's the same way when we used to perform. Mm-hmm. Like once you get past that anxiety, you can sort of like, okay, be really present in this and be like, yeah, whatever I'm doing here is what I'm supposed to be doing, and I can really sort of expand on that.
You're not thinking about, oh, what's the audience think? You're not thinking about, oh, what if I mess this up, or what if I do that? You're just present, and I think that's like the biggest lesson, like being that comfortable to where you can be present and make those decisions.
Yeah.
Back in high school, me and Emilio had a band that we were in with some other people that we played around probably like every weekend, almost every other weekend at least, in venues in Southeast Texas, and it was a lot of fun. We stayed busy. But we grew a lot. Like Emilio I remember jamming with you for the first time when you bought your drum set, like ever. And like,
was that at Eric's house?
I was in the garage at Eric's.
God.
It was like hot outside, and like you had just bought your drum set, and I had just started playing with people live for the first time, and like another guitarist, and then with a drummer. I'd not done that very much before. It was new territory for all of us. It was foreign. But then after a couple of years of doing that, it just wasn't a big deal. It was very comfortable to be in front of all these people performing. Mm-hmm. And so that's transformation right there in another way. So
yeah, we have a history. I did want to because like now I'm older and like I have my own place and like I've got roommates and I kind of know when they're doing stuff like in my space. It kind of bothers me, and it really made me sort of be more aware of like us being at your house almost 24/7 playing music, and then when we would leave our instruments. We basically took over your parents' house.
The living room, yeah.
And if somebody did that in my house now, I would be so upset.
I brought that up to my parents and I say, well, why did you let us do that?
Yeah.
And my mom's response is always the same. She said, when you have children, you understand.
Because, like, I remember one time she was, like, watching TV upstairs and we were, like, playing, not even aware of our volume. We were just, like, going at it. And then she was just, like, watching TV upstairs. And then, like, later I talked to her. I was like, can you, like, hear the TV? And she's like, oh, yeah, it's fine. And I'm like, now that I'm older and have a house, if somebody were doing that in my house, I'd be really, like, that would not be okay. So especially if like they left and like they left all their stuff in my living room, I'd be like, dude, this is going out to the street, like right now.
You come get your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's good to have a supportive environment when you're in the middle of a transformation.
They're amazing.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, that's, I mean, having a kid is, none of us have kids. No. Well, not yet, luckily.
Jacques not here.
But that's a very, like, what we've been told, is a very transformative action. Even if you're raising a kid, it's a little different than having your own kid. Like I look at, so one of my one of my buddies from work, who was a guest on our show, Matt.
Worthington.
Matt Worthington. Yes.
He's had a kid.
So he had a bit. So he.
Congratulations.
Congrats, Matt. It's really interesting because like he'd been helping raise his niece. So and she's in high school, but that was only like last few years. But then he talking to him, you know, it's so different though now having his own kid, and like especially from you know, she's only like a few months old, his daughter, but like the whole idea of like that, like it's very different, and like really feeling a sense of like, yeah, you do anything for them, right? That's what it's.
So that's an interesting topic. Like, I think so far the conversation has been focused on like the individual, like how does transformation affect you and you? What if it was we switch conversation around to how does transformation affect the outsiders, people not in the middle of that? And like to get the topic started, one of my really good friends, he's getting married in March, and he's one of my best friends, and I've known him all throughout college, and very supportive. We've been through the highest highs and lowest lows together. But he's getting married, and this is like a new chapter of his life, and it was bizarre a little bit. I saw him recently, and he's changed like as a person. He's still my friend. He's still my best friend. Like I see all his qualities there, but I was just so used to this relationship that we had that was very much like, yeah, we're just hanging out, we're having a good time, we can go, we can get a couple beers, we can go do this. That's changed because his priorities now have shifted, not so much to friendships. I'm still a big part of his life as he is in mine, but his priority now is his fiance, and like they have a house together and they're gonna get married in March. And so it's just a little bit bizarre. It's just kind of, I'm very happy for him and I'm so supportive, but it was a process of me going through to almost like an acceptance as like, hey, he's not going to be so readily available to go see Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know, in Houston or something, you know. He has other priorities now. And so it's just interesting to see how transformation not only affects the individual, but like everybody else on the outside in the bleachers kind of watching this happen.
I think you bring up an excellent point in terms of the impact of transformation. We are a collective people. We are communal. Like the people around us, our relationships really impact us as well, right? And so if someone else is going through some sort of major life event, right, that affects us. You know, that affects. You know, I don't want to like. I look at my brother right now. So my brother been hanging out with me for 3 weeks before going back to senior of college, and we were watching a movie last night, an anime movie, and afterwards when we talked this last year, so one of his his freshman year high school friend, last summer, a little over last summer, died, very, very, kind of really out of the blue. I can't remember the exact details, but it was kind of an accident, something he might fall, something like that. But the feeling of, that thing happened to his, the passing of his friend really impacts everyone around, and like for him, that transformation like affected like his desire of how he wants to live his life, right? And then talking to and like listen to him, because I've lost like not close friends or my immediate family. I've lost people more like like my grandparents, or like people like friends from college that are more like acquaintances and friends, like people I hang out with, but not people I tell everything, right? And so like how like listen to him and listen to that story and listen to how he, this is the most I've seen him like cry and sob and etc. And
is he still here?
No, I just took him to the airport earlier, a couple hours ago.
Why do you think he didn't bring it up until now?
No, we talked about last summer.
Oh, okay.
But like the movie sparked that, because the movie's kind of it's about someone's that like eventually at the end
Don't ruin the movie, dude.
I'll tell you the name of the movie.
What is it?
But someone sacrificing and helping fill someone else's heart. No, I can't give anything else away.
Is it a sausage party?
No, it's not.
Oh, okay.
But it was, but that just sparked for him that moment that reminded me, how like this transformation of my brother has really impacted also like my life and the people around him as well. Like these all, it's a domino effect, right? Mm-hmm. I think that someone goes through something, and you're not gonna necessarily, the impact might not be as large, right? As you're talking about your friend getting married, it's not impacting you that much, but it still has an impact on you. Mm-hmm. It still helps. I think it's a positive room for growth. That's how I look at it. We talk about presence, and that was something I taught a yoga class earlier today. And that was the message of the class, was around that idea of being present to others, being present to what's around you, not just the people, but just everything. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of times we miss out on opportunities for our own transformation, or by not paying attention to what's going on around us.
You gonna float again?
Am I gonna float again? Mm-hmm. I'll definitely float again.
I just bring it up because talking about being present, for me, it was a really sort of centering and like present thing. Do you plan on floating again?
I definitely plan on floating again. I think
longer.
I think longer would be great. I think
16 hours.
16. I'm gonna do 24 hours.
You were the one who like had no music. You were there.
I had no music.
Yeah.
I think my first step is to get back into my meditation routine, though, because I've kind of fallen out of it. I do it like maybe not every day as I'd like to do, and for me that really helps in terms of like what you're talking about, massage, and that helping, like a massage every month, helping you feel, that you can be present, that you can be able to go through all the steps little steps you need to do to grow, right? And for me, that's something that meditation has always done for me for, I guess, 8 years now, a little over 8 years. When I can tell when I'm like engaging on a day-to-day basis how my growth is different. It's the transformation's happening in a way, but I think I'm much more of an intentional in how I transform. I think that's something we haven't talked about, that sometimes there's two ways to look at transformation, right? You look at transformation that is done to you, or transformation that you choose.
So that actually brings up, so I plan on moving. I was planning on moving by September, and I was gonna like sign out of my lease and like let my roommates stay there, or they would have been my ex-roommates. But I called my complex, and they're like, no, you can't do that. But in the past, we've signed people out all the time, but since I'm like the primary leaseholder, I can't leave. So if I leave, everybody has to leave, and I plan on leaving in December. So the reason I'm doing this is because I have my girlfriend Megan. We want to get a place together. We want to sort of, see what the next step is like. And in doing so, like instead of and like focusing on my own life and like my own transformations and going forward with that, I'm affecting all my other roommates by basically kicking them out of this place. So when I told them, they were like, "What do you mean we have to leave?" Because like imagine like if you left, both of these people had to leave too. Mm-hmm. Like it's like a decision that you made that affects them somehow. Mm. It's just crazy. Like one of my roommates was already planning on leaving anyway, so they were okay with it. So, but the other roommate was like sort of devastated. He was like pretty upset. Mm. Mostly because it's like really cheap. It's a 3-bedroom for like $750.
Wow. Yeah.
Just crazy to think about. Like we were talking about how a transformation affects other people. Yeah. And this is one that I'm directly doing that I know is affecting other people. Mm-hmm.
And you made the intentional choice of to transform.
Yeah.
They are being, the transformation is being done to them. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something about when transformation can be a negative. I think it's when you feel like you don't have control of it.
Right.
When you feel. I think that's when it's really hard. Like I think we talk about like growing and like our own choices in terms of like depression and all that stuff. That's a lot is our intention around it. But look at something that's externally done. If you feel like, I think we love. I mean, at least talking to myself, control is comforting, secure, and so when you have control, even if it's something to do with change, it still feels. It has a sense of still feeling a little at home in it. But when someone makes a decision, especially a decision that they didn't intend to do but still did, I think it's hard to like get onto that transformation.
Yeah. Has Jacques sent us something?
Let's see.
So Jacques is in New York, as you might know, working on the art stuff, as Alec mentioned. And he was actually going to send us a video sharing some of his thoughts about what's going on, what he thought of transformations, because he was actually part of the sensory deprivation as well. And then he was just going to share his thoughts on the episodes and stuff.
Yeah.
So here that is.
Mahalo to my TalkStory fam from New York. As you can see, I'm out here in the beautiful Central Park, enjoying the summer day. It's my birthday, so hey. But I thought I'd give a few... Hey!
Happy birthday!
Thanks! See what I mean? Anyways, thought I'd share a few thoughts on transformation, this month's chapter. That was a really great month, and the couple podcasts that we recorded this month were just phenomenal, really enlightening on the subject. I think that transformation has a lot to do with what I do. I'm an actor, and I'm constantly observing, constantly researching, exploring the notion of transformation, of becoming. For me, it exists in character arcs and relationships and circumstance, and I've studied this stuff inside and out, but I think what these podcasts really revealed, which is something I knew but hadn't been quite articulated as profoundly as we had this month, is that transformation is really a universal concept for everyone, anywhere, in all laws of nature. And that can be psychological or metaphysical, i.e. in relationships, the altering state of how we relate to different people, or it can be quite literal. It can be the transformation of food into the biological processes of separating nutrients from waste. And with our first episode this month, I think that I also learned that transformation is a gift that we can give to each other, that we can remind each other that we have and always have the ability to harness constantly. And that was really beautiful, because I think that we can all afford to bestow transformation to each other. And that's what we do as friends, that's what we do as family, but I think we can do that for everyone. Encourage people to constantly find that constant, because transformation and change is the only real constant in our lives. And remind each other of the value of that, because this life, all of our lives, is this really crazy journey of transformation that we all just need to embrace and run with. So that's what I'm learning out here in New York. Was just in LA for 2 weeks and then hopped back to Austin for a full 12 hours, and now I'm out here making a show. And I've kind of just got to run with the ingredients and make the best of them. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. So I look forward to the discussion on transformation, seeing what y'all talk about. And mahalo.
Yeah, so do you guys have any
lingering thoughts?
or stories?
I have an extra thought.
Yeah, all right, go ahead. Mm-hmm. What's your extra thought?
I'm scared.
Well, I really wanted to dig into like the waterboarding thing, because like we don't have to talk about just torture and like doing that, but the idea of like just trying new experiences. Like I didn't want to do the sensory deprivation thing. I didn't want to do that, and Jacques and Alec were like, "We're gonna do it," and so I was like, "Fine, okay, I'll just be open to this." And it really sort of made me think about the waterboarding thing, is because that was something I wanted to do. But in general, most people wouldn't want to do it. But I think because there's no sort of risk, and the only thing that can happen in this is you grow. That's how I looked at it with the sensory deprivation thing and the other thing. It's just another experience. That's something that allows you to say, I experienced this, other people haven't experienced this, so I've got a little bit more growth. That was just all I wanted to expand on. It's just something that I think, if you have the ability to try something new, you should try it.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Don't knock it till you try it.
That's kind of hypocritical of you, because you were knocking the waterboarding.
All right, tune in. Next. Alec, any closing thoughts?
I was going to ask you.
You're going to ask me? No, I just get to reflect and wrap everything up with this chapter with you guys. Unfortunately, Jacques is not here, but he'll be here next time, maybe.
I'm gonna, after this, I'm gonna talk to him and like work out exactly how we're gonna do it, so we don't have to like have this technical issues.
Oh, so he'll still be in New York for the next one.
Yeah.
Oh, he will. He's back in November in Austin. Yeah.
He'll be back in November. So we will be and so we'll be doing that. But I think for me, in terms of last things, and I think really looking at looking at TalkStory, how we've transformed. We started, very much with, okay, we're going to talk to people. We're going to have conversations with creative people. That was our original idea.
Started with an idea.
Yeah. And Amelia asked me some tough questions. Like, I have no idea what we do. You guys jumped on and was like, yeah, well, I'll definitely be down. I'm like, I didn't expect you guys to. I thought I was going to be like, I just really wanted to know what equipment I needed to just like record people. I was going to use like this video recorder and that was it, right? Mm-hmm. That was the plan. But because I think this gets to how transformation is collaborative. Like I think personally, I've definitely grown because of working with you guys and because of doing this, but also as a group, I think we've grown in terms of our content, like doing this roundtable, right? This is our second time doing it, but like in terms of like adding new content, adding new stuff, be able to work together in new ways. I mean,
hearing new stories, having new guests all the time, and being able to hear new stories, stuff that I never would have heard before. That's one of the cool things. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It's just that's one of the cool things of like being part of this project and seeing how it's grown. Like the first episodes were us, so and to go from just like our stories to like new stories has been pretty awesome.
Yeah. I think the opening of stories, and that's why we changed our name to Given Space for Stories Unheard, I think is really at the root of what we do. Mm-hmm. I think the most amazing thing I'm most appreciative is working with you guys. And now have a new team member, Montanique, is I think the opportunities of especially my growth as a producer, because I think understanding how to like balance all that and how to logistically handle all these new pieces and help us grow into a way that is sustainable, and I think where we all want to be. I think there's so much room to still grow, but there's so much we have done. So I think it's really cool. I think that's going to be. I think this is a great chance. This month has been a great chance for us to reflect as an organization, as a team, as a family. And
to say thanks to our fans and listeners out there.
Yeah, as always.
We always have more people growing, which is always blowing me away. It's awesome to check the Facebook every day and always have new people following us and liking us on that. That's always really awesome.
Yeah.
And send us messages. Talk to us.
Yeah.
Send us your thoughts. We'll answer you back. I promise.
Montanique, do you want to say anything? Did you want to?
No, all right. So...
she said no with her head.
All right, everyone out there, mahalo.
Bye.